wait a minute, for a moment. And I'm sure that that woman might have had a bad morning. For all I know, she had a car accident. For all I know, she broke up with her boyfriend or her husband left her. I mean, I'm sure that there was a reason for her to treat me that way. But at that moment, I just needed to meet my own need. And so, am I wrong in wanting my need met? Is she wrong in wanting her? It's very difficult. We're stuck in that second chakra.
Well, when you say it like that, it's difficult. But I just think, I believe in karma. And one day she's gonna need that.
Golden rule.
There's
She's
a
really bad.
saying you don't mix business with pleasure too.
Yeah, but that's also an excuse
that's-
to say
yeah,
let
yeah,
it
no, of
be
course.
impersonal
Yeah.
and rude because it's
You should've
business.
left.
Right, and that's the saying.
That's
It's
your
just
free
business,
will.
just
That's
take it
fine.
personally.
Yeah.
Well, no, business is about people.
Yeah.
I saw something on LinkedIn the other day. I don't remember who the CFO or the CEO was. I think it might have been Gary Vaynerchuk, I don't remember. But whatever the quote was, you don't treat your customers right, you treat your employees right. You treat your employees right, then your employees will treat your customers right.
Mhm.
And I'm like, very true,
It is.
because it's the chain.
They've done a
If
lot of-
we're pleased as faculty, then we're gonna come and treat the students well, and then the students are gonna go and, talk well about the school, and then everyone wins.
Cycle again.
That's what they've done the studies on. They've done a lot of studies like that, and they've come out.
That's why Google's so damn successful.
Yeah.
They treat
yeah.
their people like gold.
Like,
They feed them, they give them napping stations,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
games,
Yeah.
there's everything you could possibly want.
and then
Playtime.
you don't wanna go home, that becomes your home. Okay, so the home, I need you guys to understand this. At the moment of conception, however your parents were, is the state of mind, is the home. They then created the home, right? Here they had sex. We know sex is 4, we know it's earth, right?
What if they didn't have sex and it was immaculate?
No, we've already established that Jesus
That's
was
not what they told me.
Well, then this is not the class for you, because I will just put holes in that thing over and over again.
No, they joked with us when we were kids that they only had sex twice, once for me and one for my sister.
Yeah. So once the conception happens, they created the house, right? There it is. Does not matter if your parents ever lived together. The relationship you have, the home that you've created, is an exact replica, an exact mirror of what your parents were when they, what is that face?
I don't like to say this about myself, but I was tricking when I conceived my child, which I don't even know who the dad is.
Okay,
So what type of home would that be?
well, are you,
For us, like,
Or even
I mean,
for-
I don't know who the dad is, but whoever it is.
okay,
like,
so when he
Yes, you're
grows up and
basically
is in
one-
relationship,
Oh.
he's gonna replicate that similarity.
Yeah, but what's it to me?
It's not about you.
Yeah.
You're replicating your parents'
Oh.
conception.
So
Your
then-
son is replicating you and his father.
So then, right, what would my story be with my parents?
What were they doing?
I mean, my mom was related to my dad, so
Okay.
uncle, niece, like.
Okay, but what was the relationship? They were married?
I
What was the
don't.
story around
they-
conception?
Well, she came here when she was 19, and her grandparents, obviously my dad's parents, were the ones to receive her in the household. And supposedly that's how they met, and that's how I happened.
Okay, so what happened when you were conceived?
I mean, probably they weren't married.
They were happy.
Okay.
Oh well, my
They weren't
mom
married,
claims
so
that
that's an
they
element.
were happy, and
They
that
lived
my-
together?
Huh?
They
well,
lived-
well, I mean, obviously, they met under my grandparents' roof, so yes, they
Right,
were all.
but once you become conceived, was it your brother first?
No, I was
Okay.
first.
Okay, so
yeah.
once your parents conceive you,
Yeah, they were.
what was
doing
going on at that moment in their lives?
that
Were they
I-
in love?
Yeah, from what I know, I don't really know my mom claims that they were in love. They like had a serious relationship. They moved in together after all that. So, but I don't really know the truth behind it because my mom, she doesn't really talk about it. So.
Okay, so, a few things can happen. You do it 100% the same. You meet some guy, you marry him, you're under his roof, you're living under the same roof, right? Or you do the exact opposite. Based on what you said, you've done the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Where you're tricking and your son doesn't know who his father is.
Right.
Okay, remember, it's duality.
Oh, it's 0 to.
It's the 0 to 100, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay? So that's where we have to understand. You're thinking or listening past what the client is telling you. But the home, and again, home is that moment of conception. The home that they have becomes you in terms of your body, yourself, your being, and also becomes the home that you create. But the home that you create in a relationship and the home you create internally. So you have to understand both of those. Because what is the purpose of needing to create an internal home that represents your parents? Think back to mother, father, child.
Yeah, you're trying to fulfill.
Absolutely. Because you have to get back to that conception. You have to honor them and you have to say, Mom and Dad, you were right. I'm just this piece of shit or whatever it is that they said to you.
I see it.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so that's a twofold and that's super, super important. So when we do the chart next week, you're going to see a relationship between these two houses. This is called the descendant. I told you about the ascendant. The ascendant is what you show the world. This is the face, the mask. Okay? It's also a part of you that you need to integrate because you think it's fully integrated but is not. I'll give you my example. I'm a Sagittarius ascendant. Sagittarius, we're looking here, Jupiter, explorer. Explorer, seeker, one of you had seeker, I think it was Chi-Chi, and we're always looking, but it has a very idealistic point of view, okay, the Sagittarius ascendant. And it's also very positive. Are you okay?
Yeah.
What's wrong?
No.
You sure? You want to take a moment?
No.
You want to share? You can.
Just the fact of what I did to my son.
No.
To your son? Okay, but let's take a moment. If we believe this, that he was in this intact cosmos, in this heaven, perfect, he had the whole puzzle, and he chose to have the original sin. He chose to experience himself in a different way. Are you really at fault? Or did he make the choice to choose your vehicle and your story and the origin story that he chose?
He did. I mean, he would.
Okay, a moment ago you said you believed in karma.
No, that was,
Okay,
yeah.
do you believe in karma?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think.
So when we talk about, we can't spew things out and then not think them entirely through and only take the pieces that are convenient. If we believe in karma, then you have to know that all the shit that happened to you, you too brought upon you, right? So there's Marcia, and she's taking her personal responsibility. But if you say that, then you also have to give your son sort of his responsibility. If you believe it, if you don't believe this, then you tell me, Francis, fuck off. I don't believe it, and you find another therapist. That's the great thing.
I do, but it's the example that I'm setting. Because eventually he's gonna know.
Okay, but really, is it the example that you're setting? Or if you believe in this, did it already happen? Is it already his subconscious? if you've been sitting in this class for 6 months, and again, you don't have to believe it, and I tell you that all the time. You wipe your ass. This is theory of personality. Believe me, she could teach you every personality theory under the sun and do a much better job than I can, and you might resonate, and Marcia brought a beautiful poster, and there might be other tenets that you believe in. But that's the importance of having a common language. That's the importance of saying, oh, this is where my therapist practices from, and I believe in this. Or saying, you're a crock of shit, I don't believe in you, and going to find someone new.
Quack.
Totally. I'm a big quack. I'm not everyone's cup of tea.
Go to church, get saved.
Right.
Exactly. And
Or
that,
take the bottle or whatever it's
whatever it is,
Holy water thrown at you.
you know? So we have to, guys, we have to believe what we're being sold. If not, you're not gonna eat it. You're not gonna change. You're not gonna believe it. You're gonna sit there and give your money to someone and you're gonna be like, what the fuck did I just spend the last 50 minutes on? Do you understand why first session establishing the theory that you're practicing from is so important? This is perfect. Because you come in here, you say you want me to live, that you want me in your life, you come in here whether you have to or not, day after day, and you listen. But really question. Just because I say it doesn't make it true. I'm so full of shit. Who the fuck knows what I'm saying? I don't fucking know.
That's exactly.
Just walk by.
Who did?
Peter.
President just walked by.
I
As she
practiced
said, I don't
your
fucking know what I'm talking
It's called
about.
academic freedom.
Exactly. That's
I
right.
practice your
Freedom of
theory on
speech.
my mom, which she
How big
totally
Okay, well,
goes against to an extreme. She's like, oh, she's such a good teacher, such a good.
That's true.
Listen, I'm like, Mom, like I had her, you know, the bad bucket and good bucket? It's the time where she still hasn't sat down to do it. I know she's running away from something. Like, I know she is.
You.
Yeah.
Why do you want to save her?
Because I'm the dumbass that always wants to save.
Okay, well, you have your innocent archetype, we've established. And funny enough, you also had your creator archetype. So this is the running. So is it your mom who's running or is it you? Is it you that has to stop and do the activity or is it her?
It's me.
Your mother's made love to Jesus for the past 30 years. She can give a shit about me or my buckets. I mean, let's get real. So you can, and you have that free will, and you have that choice to do that. Just saying. Stop trying to give her the buckets to fill out and then turn it on yourself. But if you really believe that your son chose the puzzle pieces, that he chose to experience himself, and why he chose you, and he chose the chaos, and he chose the original sin, and he chose you and his father, whether we know who he is or not at the moment of conception. It doesn't mean that you don't have emotion and that you're not sad and that you're not judging yourself and all that. I'm not, believe me. Believe me. I'm by no means, I'm not telling you to not cry and not, you know, but it sometimes helps a little bit to say, okay, wait a minute. And that's what therapists try to do. Like mine says to me, oh, so you suck, right? Keep telling me all the reasons that you're a piece of shit. And I just spew them out. And then you have to laugh. And you leave the office and you're like, okay, fine, she's right. You know, I mean, it's just something to like, get you out of your thought. It's to get you out of that thought of, oh my God, I am so evil because I decided to leave this intact, perfect, cosmic egg of this system that's whole. Yeah, we like chaos. We like this. We love to fucking rub in the mud, people. We do. We're fucking pigs. We love it. We like to We love that shit. It's where we come from. If not, we would have stayed up with the fucking puzzle maker. And we wouldn't have said, oh, what's down there? Let me try experiencing that. everything I teach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to fucking feel the breeze.
Yeah.
He didn't want to see the waves. He wanted to smell the salt water. And he said, fuck it, God, fuck you. Make me a flesh. And what the fuck happens? The bitch dies on the fucking bicycle.
Yeah.
Sorry if you haven't seen it.
Spoiler
Oh
alert.
my god.
She fucking dies.
Yeah.
He got 1 day with her. One freaking little weekend.
Yeah.
Well, isn't
Have you
that
seen
cosmic ritual?
I
now?
Oh, see it. See it.
Yeah, I was pissed. I was crying. I
Very,
was
very
pissed.
great.
Yeah, he was saying that earlier.
It's a great movie.
So
And the
he said,
music
fuck
on
you,
it.
God.
The music
I'm
is
gonna pick
insane.
to experience Meg Ryan.
That's my.
And of course, he has to punish himself for it. Do we create or do we not create?
Yeah, we
Self-flagellation again.
Of course we
Absolutely. Except it's here because now we're all Christian
Not me.
rather than.
create. Everything we
So
do,
it went
we
from
create.
the act to the thought.
Yeah.
And then what happens? All the other angels are standing on the beach, and he's there, but he's actually feeling. So if your son chose to come through you, to experience himself through you, through that little teeny tiny vehicle, there's a reason.
Can I add to that?
Of course.
It may not be the ideal story. It may not be the perfect scenario, but it's what he is and what you made him that will be the telling. I mean, it doesn't matter who the father was because he needed you. You needed him. You found each other. So don't worry about who the father was. He was just a sperm donor.
And how many, if we go back to myth, because ultimately we go back to myth, right? You're just a living myth. You're just a personal myth. That's it. How many people in mythology don't have a fucking clue who the father is?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a fucking clue.
It's Zeus. He's fucking
Exactly. So just tell him when he's old and his dad is Zeus and call it a fucking day. Put the Hercules movie and you're boom, you're done.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're just a myth,
And you.
go to the myth. And you happen to be in, what was your third one?
It
Jupiter?
was, hold on. It was innocent, warrior, and seeker.
Okay. So here, first of all, we have brothers.
Brothers, yeah.
But here, we also have brothers. And this one was sent to the bottom of the ocean to be raised by nymphs.
Doesn't sound so bad.
Hey, they taught him how to woodwork. They taught him a trade.
Them sitting were awesome.
And Zeus, supposedly, this was Zeus's favorite kid. And Zeus didn't even want to acknowledge this kid. And Hera, ni se diga. So at least your son, if we're looking at your personal myth, at least your son knows his mother.
Yeah.
She didn't also toss him to the ocean like mom and dad.
I was thinking of
Why not? Trae ventanilla. Right?
I'm just curious on a side note. Sometimes I've heard stories, people will say that their mothers have made up the father. He was a war hero, or he was a firefighter, or whatever. It would seem to me like that would actually be more detrimental to the child's psyche, to lie, to have this image of your father being Gandhi, or being, this perfect Mandela type of a person. How do you deal with that? When he's old enough and says, who's my dad?
He's gonna be lost as fuck, cause all this time.
'Cause that's going to be
Yeah,
super
he's
chaotic.
Well,
right
first of
there.
all, it's very moon in Leo, so write that down. Very, very moon in Leo. People who have moon in Leo tend to have these superhero characters, especially as dads, where they made this person larger than life. It's the Adonis, it's the Apollo.
Perfection.
So that's the first thing. So write that down, so if you have that, we can explore that in your story. That person, two things. If they created, just to use the language of the model, if they created that their mother or their grandmother or their sister or their siblings or the whole family followed along, there's something in them that needs to live that out, right? That's one sort of premise. The other thing is the psyche knows the truth. I had a client, I don't know, several years ago now, and the mother knew that the father wasn't the father that she told her. The father was like this young baseball player and died at a very young age. And she came to see me, and she's like, I want to tell my kid, or what do I do? That was probably what she came for. And I'm like, she already knows. And we took out the chart and, we looked at stuff. And I showed her where she had the destroyer archetype in her 4th house, so subconsciously she already knew. Here is a magician, it's Pluto. And I said, she already knows. And the mother told her the next day, and then the next day the girl came. And they were both clients of mine. And we talked about it. And so I opened the Akashic Records and we started getting some information because the dad had passed. It turned out that they were like from, what's that when you eat the tomato with the mozzarella? Caprese salads. The family was from Caprese. The family had like textile business. This girl was in fashion school. She had a Caprese sandwich every day for lunch. Like, so to speak. It's already in you. And then the third thing to that is they're either going to do the 0 to the 100. They're either going to become that father as that perfection, as that Adonis, or they're going to be the biggest piece of shit, Hephaestus thrown to the bottom of the ocean. So it is detrimental, but if we go back to just the basic assumption of the theory that we created this, then there's somewhere how that's going to
Well, my
pan
question
out,
was more
play
about,
out.
is it more detrimental to create the hero, or is it more detrimental to admit the truth to a child? And at what point can they actually handle? Obviously, it depends, the variables of the maturity levels, the intelligence, the psychological and emotional stability of that person, or that child. But, it just seems like if the lie becomes the truth, that falling from the lie, that he's not a hero, he's just some guy, would be more detrimental to someone's psyche than it would be to admit the truth in the first place. To me, I don't know.
Everybody chime in, but my personal opinion is that that's every one of our stories anyway. That is the journey.
Right.
That is the entire hero's journey. So we're all falling from grace. We've all been sold this somewhat God-like pedestalian thing
That's a lot.
that we come down from. Yesterday, one of my friends, I had a very, very bad day yesterday, and he's like, you're amazing and you're so normal. Like, you're great and you fuck up. You're just normal, Francis.
Duality.
Wow. And I'm like, that is so amazing to just be fucking normal. To just be having this chaos and this shit and not knowing a fucking answer, but at the same time saying, wait a minute, I can make some choices and I can do some cool, amazing things with this too. So, this is my personal answer to it. It doesn't make it right. Is that that's everyone's story. So somewhere we've all been sold a false bag of goods. Somewhere. So whether it's called a lie because, and you, like you said, you'll fuck up your kid, you're gonna fuck them up anyway. A basic tenet of conception story is that the moment you begin this role as a parent, you've already fucked your kid up, because the only responsibility, according to Bert Hellinger, that you had was to give them the vehicle, and the vehicle is flawed. So the second you conceive your child, you've already given them some fuck up. So right there's the lie. This plane is all about duality, the lie. Everyone has someone on a pedestal. It's our wrong alliances. The lie.
But it's when you realize that they don't belong on the pedestal. They're just people who fucked.
Of course.
That is the problem.
Right.
My personal advice would be, go ahead if you think you can get away with it, but if there's any chance that your kid's gonna find out that their dad wasn't actually
Zeus.
LeBron, then tell them the truth. Because I think it's the lie that causes trauma. It's the
That's what I'm
betrayal
saying.
that
Yes.
causes the
That's
trauma.
what I'm saying.
Who cares? He's never gonna find out. Go ahead and tell him who cares. It doesn't matter because they're gonna have to dethrone him no matter who he is.
Right.
If you tell him that he was a terrible person and he's in prison and he's never coming out, they're gonna have to dethrone him from being the worst thing in the world.
Right.
And if you say it was LeBron, you're gonna have to dethrone him from there. But whatever you say, make sure that it's something.
It's not gonna come back to bite
It's not
you.
gonna come back.
Beautifully put LeBron on Maury.
Make it good.
Yeah,
Make it real good.
that goes for pretty much everything. It's like, you know,
Everything.
just don't get caught.
Don't get caught. Absolutely. But the model will demonstrate how the betrayal is inevitable because we all come from a triangle. That's the reality of it. So whether it's in your personal system and your MFC triad, or if it's in the truth is in the triangle, in your relationship, the betrayal is at the tip of the triangle. Because you have to try, or not, to integrate that piece. So something lives outside that is getting your attention. Something is not integrated in you. Whether it's your spouse's job, whether it's a lover, whether it's the car, whether it's the friends, whether it's NFL, you know, Monday night and Sunday night football. There is something there. So you're gonna have to deal with the betrayal piece anyway. You can call it what you want. That's where the level of consciousness. So I was saying before how the chart cannot determine level of consciousness. That really is in that person's sort of, you know, free will and what they are choosing. So you can take the story of, oh my God, I was born in a cult, my mother gave me to the nymph, you know, Gladys Therese, or, you know, your parents were supposedly in love, or your son doesn't know his father, whatever the story. She had to lie to her dad because her mom didn't want to know. Your mother didn't get to freaking eat because her mother was a bitch. I mean, we all have a story. How you're gonna make that to be how big the betrayal is, that's your level of consciousness. That's on you, I think. That's just my personal.
What if your parents are great and they're wonderful and they're great people? I mean,
You're lying.
Illusion!
That's what I'm saying.
He doesn't know me yet.
You're lying.
Possibility, yeah.
You're alive!
No, I just mean like
Bullshit.
you had a good childhood and
Bullshit, delusion.
That's what I thought.
Total delusion.
So-
And the better you think it was, the more deluded you are. I used to think, I call that cracking the snow globe.
Oh.
Okay, we're all living in a snow globe. But the worst ones, and trust me, I had the biggest fucking snow globe of all winter wonderlands. And 2.5 years ago, wow, did I have to shatter that snow globe. And I will describe it as shards of glass. Like, I saw all the shards of glass. Like, I visualized these things, and it was like, it reminds me of those movies that, they're gonna break into the museum and you see the lasers and they have to like go around like that. I saw shards of glass of the delusion of my fantasy freaking childhood. I was so, I would have cut myself no matter where I stepped. That's how deluded I was. In a way, a childhood like Marsha's is better, entre comillas, you know what I'm saying? Because there's less delusion. She starts off right off the bat knowing that there's no pedestal to take anyone off of. If she chooses to create the pedestal, I'm not saying she didn't suffer. She suffered and it sucked and I would have never wanted that. I'd rather be doing it now, I guess at 45, unfortunately, but than at 12. She was raped, her Persephone was raped at 12 years old. Her Heroskamos, she was stripped from. We were talking a few weeks ago or a few days ago about how in the Native American cultures, they will dress up and like steal the boy. They'll rip the boy from the mother and they do an enactment and the mother's in on it, but it's to physically rape the kid like from his mother's arms so he'll grow up.
Right, of course.
Whereas women,
Tossing from the nest.
totally. And it's to shift the psyche, because the male psyche is a bit different than the woman's, because the woman reproduces, and when she gets her period, she's sort of pushed that way. And then, of course, in these tribes, they tend to have children early, and then motherhood and whatnot. So every one of us has had a rape. Every one of us has had this you know, this sort of, whether it's the prodigal son leaving and coming home, she got it at 12 and I got it at 43. So eventually, you're gonna get raped. Eventually, you're gonna be penetrated and